Hello, everybody, again. Welcome back to Cosmic Owl Astrology with Louise Edington, the Cosmic Owl. And I'm here today to talk to you about the Capricorn New Moon that is on December the 30th, closing out the year with a bit of a bang. But before I do, welcome to all your lovely new subscribers. Very, very grateful for you. Very, very grateful for all the comments, all the likes, all the thumbs up. Even grateful for the thumbs down because it helps the old algorithms. Any engagement does. So yay. Thank you. I don't know why people do that though. It's very weird. But anyway, so before I dive in, I would like to remind you of the Venus retrograde preview call on the 19th. That's free. You can sign up for it whenever because the recording will be uploaded there as well. Also, that I have my Venus retrograde heroine's journey class starting in February, but we have an early bird sign up deal for if you register before the end of December. It's actually $100 off the total price and a 3-pay option as well. And in January, the price goes up $50 and there'll be a 2-pay. And in February, it'll be full price only and 1-pay. So it's worth registering earlier. I had like about 125 people in the last one, the summer of 2023. And I can promise you this retrograde is off the charts. All right, so all the links are down below. Also a free quantum astrology gathering where I've interviewed some amazing astrologers, and all the interviews that I've recorded will be going out to those that register to your email box from January the 6th to 17th for that quiet time after Christmas. So sign up for any, all of it, 1, 2, 3, nothing, all of it, whatever tickles your fancy. But let's dive into this Capricorn new moon. So I'm not going to share the chart just yet. I will say, first of all, that the Capricorn new moon is on December the 30th, 5:26 p.m. Eastern. So I think for some of you that may be on the 31st. It will be the 31st for some of you, Europe and beyond. It's 9 degrees Capricorn, and it's partile, which means at the same degree, very close. In fact, only 18 minutes apart, conjunction with Centaur Pholus, which I will talk a little bit about. It's at 9 degrees, as I mentioned, but there's also some amazing other aspects going on at the same time. You may have watched the solstice chart reading already, where we had 2 T-squares. Well, we've got a T-square in this chart as well, a big T-square of change. And we've also still got the ongoing kind of kite of new ideas, new information, new action, new change, really creative kind of energy to end the year with. But before I do, let's talk about the 9-degree mark. So the number 9 is a number of completion. It represents the completion of a phase of life, paving the way for the next. And we did have a 9-degree Sagittarius new moon, if you remember. So they quite often have a series of new or full moons at the same degree. But this is a recognition that life is ever changing. Okay. But 9 is also about spiritual growth and a strong desire to serve humanity. And it's also about getting a big global perspective. Oh, isn't that needed? And directing sympathy and self-sacrifice toward people at large. So it's a very creative number, very much about art, writing, gardening, cooking, crafts, anything creative. And it's usually it's a very, very honest number. All right. And it's a number that values dignity and loyalty in a big way. So it's a very strong new moon in the sign of Capricorn, which is guided by Saturn, and Saturn is still in a square to Jupiter on this new moon, activating the opening square of the conjunction that was at 0 Aquarius back in 2021 on the solstice of that year. So it's a big new moon, and it's right at the end of our calendar year, so that has some significance. And as I've mentioned many times, it's also a period where lunar maximum is about to happen. Okay, it's actually the maximum declination of the moon for this whole period is on January the 11th. So, you know, this is a big, big period, and we're in solar maximum and so many ands at the moment. Everything is extra. All right, so I'm going to pull a card for this new moon. Then we're just going to talk about the astrology. Oh, and we get this beautiful card again. I keep getting it. This is the High Priestess. This is Isis. You know, you can look at her. She's so gorgeous. I'm going to actually read from Anjali's Arian's book. And, you know, Capricorn gets a bit of a bad rap as being kind of a dull sign, but Capricorn is an achiever and a builder, and it's the structures we live under. And it's also wisdom, elder wisdom. And Saturn, the guide, has been going through Pisces and is still going through Pisces, asking us to connect with a higher spiritual wisdom. I always think of Capricorn energy as the wisdom of the crone. It's not necessarily, you know, a male figure. So I love Capricorn. It also has a bit of a raunchy sense of humor. But the High Priestess is, the quote in the book is, "For self is a sea boundless and measureless," and that's the prophet from Khalil Gibran, the prophet. The principle of intuition, self-trust, and self-resourcefulness. So affirmations for this card are: I deeply value and honor the human being that I am. I am a very perceptive and human being, and an intuitive human being. I trust myself and value my integrity. So just let me show you again. I keep telling you, good times are coming. And yet everybody's like, when? Well, it unfolds, right? We're leaving a time of huge dissolution, and we've probably got a little more dissolution to come, but we're kind of on the way out, in my opinion. So let me show you the new moon. Okay, so here we are, Capricorn new moon. Pallas Athena, the wise owl, is also there. Justice, strategic justice, but this is Pholus. I'll talk more about that in a moment. But I did mention that Jupiter and Saturn are in this square, and this is in the sign of alliances and the twins and the thought and mind and perceptions. And this is in faith and belief. And I mentioned that they were together where Pluto is, way back at the end of 2021. So these two are talking to each other. So this is boundaries and boundlessness. So we're finding that balance between the physical structures and that boundless sense of connection and self, right? Quantum, I keep talking about it. And then, as I mentioned, we've still got this air grand trine to the south node, to Pluto and to Sedna. This is big do or die moment of change, really. And, you know, I think we're going to do personally, because I see the signs. So, you know, hold that space. But let's step back. I'm just going to talk about Pholus. So it's a new moon, which is setting intentions, new beginnings, setting seeds in the dark. And here's Pholus comes along. Now, Melanie Reinhardt's description for Pholus is the lid comes off. Okay, but Pholus is, of course, more than that. Pholus is about spiritual emergencies. Is also really about our collective ancestral trauma or releasing it. And Pholus tends to like lift the lid off this collective ancestral trauma. Okay, so has the lid not blown off, in wider Western culture and the world and things like that? So, racism, exploitation, materialistic gain, autocratic behaviors, all these things are right up in our face. Okay, we're in this crisis really of body consciousness and spirit. Now, Pholus has a 90-year orbit. It goes very close to Saturn and all the way out to Neptune. And of course, we have Saturn and Neptune both in Pisces right now. Okay. So his path slows in Capricorn now. So he entered Capricorn in 2019 and will not leave Capricorn until 2041. So, if we think about the boundary and boundlessness I talked about already, we've got Saturn representing our physical world. It was the limits of our visible known cosmos under the patriarchy in this current kind of civilization. And it's a physical and social structures, but Neptune is this state of transcendence of the physical world. It's the transpersonal unitive states of consciousness. Can also be gaslighting and conspiracy theories, all that kind of stuff as well. So all centaurs help us to integrate traumatic experiences, but Pholus is one that helps us to reground and return to earthbound consciousness after leaving our bodies in Neptunian states. This is from Amalthea Guide blog. Okay. So now then, spiritual emergencies, shamanic crisis, Kundalini awakening, unity of consciousness, psychological renewal through a return to the center, which is very much like internal family systems kind of work, all this kind of work, but also it's kind of near-death experiences and all kinds of things like that. And all these experiences really are emergencies in our Western material culture because we have left that connection. We've left the familiar ground of this physical realm and begun to realize that we are quantum in nature. Okay, right? I'm not going to go talk about Pholus's myth. You can go and read about that. But Pholus really is very much, as I said, taking the lid off it, but it's also about healing the root. Now, Pholus is also very associated with tower moments, and if you've lacked out, if you've not acted in the physical realm out of integrity and use the gaslighting and the fear tactics and things like that, then it's cause and effect. It's, the fall, if you like, from when the lid comes off and everybody starts to see it. Now, Pholus is quite kind to you if you've been kind of doing the work and learning to trust your inner voice, but it's kind of not an easy path. Okay, so it's kind of an initiatory process. Now then, in the collective though, Pholus, I've witnessed it, like, every time Pholus gets activated, because Pholus was traveling over my Saturn and back and forth, so I became very aware of Pholus. Every time Pholus is activated, we find out more about lack of integrity, about about where lies have been told, the big lie, so to speak, all those things. Talk about politics again. And I think we will be looking at how this impacts some of the charts involved in the world current state of affairs with Kathy and Andy. I'm not going to look at those in this call, but I do want to say that having a new moon exactly conjunct Pholus at 9 degrees, completion, endings, is really going to rip the lid off or the band-aid off something. And we are going to really see this spiritual kind of crisis that we are in collectively. Okay. And that means that we can set intention to do things differently in Capricorn, right? Now, I love that Pallas Athena is also conjunct, and she is the wise and strategic problem solver, and she is justice, and she is at 11 degrees, so that's a gateway number of possibility. And I think justice is coming because Capricorn is also associated with the man-made rules, okay, and the structures we've set up. So, you know, but this applies everywhere. All right. Now, this is the new moon is also in a bit of a wide square, not very wide, to Black Moon Lilith in Libra. And that is that very wild elemental part of ourselves that just wants fairness, equality, and yes, justice. So Black Moon Lilith is playing her part as well on this lunation. A couple of other things to mention is that Mars and Pluto are almost at their second exact opposition, and the two of them, who are the modern and traditional guides for the sign of Scorpio, are forming a T-square with Creatrix Haumea. This is in fixed signs, a fixed T-square that's going to force things to break open and change, all right, and to birth something new. And as I've pointed out often, birthing something new is not necessarily easy. It can be messy. So, and all this is happening in fixed signs with Pluto in the sign of the future and the people, and Mars retrograde in the sign of the rulers and the leaders, and Haumea's in Scorpio, the fertile waters, but also revealing where there's been power games, manipulation, and things happening in the shadows. This is rather a powerful new moon, right at the end of the year. So for the 3 days while this new moon is in the dark, set powerful seeds of intention for what you are going to build and create in the coming months. But this is happening for us all collectively. Now, I'm just going to read you the symbols. I'm not going to talk anymore because, you know, I'm putting out a lot at the moment, so I'm trying to keep them a little bit shorter. So the Sabians, but before I do, don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and leave me a comment. As you know, I try to get to all the comments over time with at least a heart. I try and answer, but I'm not going to be able to keep up with that. So the Sabian symbol, we go up, so it's Capricorn 10, is an albatross feeding from the hand. So this is a symbol of man's basic self-justification on the practical or commonplace side, and of his complete dependence on the cooperation of the world at large for any actuality of personal experience. He must ever take the initiative in meeting the needs of others if he is to expect them to stir appreciably and similarly in his own behalf. If he reaps in life, he must sow abundantly, and he establishes himself as he expends himself and thereby encourages his fellows to do the same. The key word is nurture. Very archaic language because this is Dr. Mark Edmund Jones, but he said when positive, the degree is unusual success in dramatizing the potentialities of human nature and its ramifying achievements. And when negative, it's over concern with side issues. I will leave that with you. Now to John Sandbacher's symbols. So the Omega symbol. Many strange and diverse objects are seen floating down a river. The side issues, right? Okay, so he said, this is vivification, invigoration, and enlivenment. This degree has a lack of attachment to life and the world, has the ability to move freely through life and to visit many places, both physically as well as inner emotional states that others might not allow themselves to experience due to fear of so much change. What may seem to be chaotic behavior on the part of this degree is often seen as quite meaningful on a closer look and part of a regimen of highly individualized learning. The Chandra symbol for this degree is a man astride a horse is drinking in its energy and power. This degree is always aware that we are continually taking from nature, feeding on it, and using it to fulfill our own purposes. If this is carried out in a respectful way and to sustain rather than to indulge, we find that nature is always there ready to give. So he sums up by saying the strange and diverse objects floating down the river are all those things which captivate us one after the other as we experience the world around us flowing through time. The best relationship to have with all this passing stuff is to take what we need from it, use whatever we are inspired to use for whatever we need it for, and let the rest flow on for others downstream to use as needed. This degree carries just this amount of pragmatic and yet spiritual attitude when it's living in tune with its Dharma. Well, that speaks to me of, the ending, hopefully, of the greed of the oligarchs and those who just hoard and don't let the rest flow on down the river. Patriarchy. Bye-bye. I will see you next time.